Hey everybody, Danny Mode here. Thanks for joining us. This week we're going to teach you how to start the downswing correctly. Why is it an important subject? Well, if you don't start the downswing correctly, you're not able to impart the energy that you store at the top into the back of the ball in the maximum amount. So you get maximum amount of energy put into the back of the ball, so you get maximum power. The other thing that you find very difficult, if you don't start the downswing correctly, it's very tricky to start to get that ball turf contact so you can strike those irons pure. So in this week's training, we're going to show you some of the common pitfalls I see with people from the top of the backswing down, and we're going to show you exactly how, I'll give you 2 or 3 exercises on how you can start the downswing correctly so that you can do it more consistently each and every time on the golf course. So before we do, if you're new to the channel and this is one of your first videos, I would love for you to become a subscriber. I release content like this every week to try and help you improve your game. So let's get started. Starting the downswing. Well, before we get into that, let's think about to start the downswing correctly, you've got to be up in a position to start it correctly, right? Now, if you're around here, then clearly it's very difficult to start the downswing correctly because you're going to have the clubs behind you, you're going to have to move the club somewhere back over here. So what we're going to assume is that your backswing is roughly where it should be. Now, where should it be? If we can get the club, first of all, roughly on line with the feet halfway back here in parallel and the club up here on line here, then suddenly we've got a much easier way to get back down to the golf ball. I'll put up in the top left-hand corner here a couple of trainings to help you get into the best backswing position each and every time. So I'm assuming that roughly you're going to be in a pretty decent backswing position at the top here. Question is, when you're there, what do you do? Well, let's look at it on a couple of scales. When people start the downswing incorrectly, what they're really doing is they're starting it with too much of their top half of their body. What we want to do on the way down, we need to get the lower section working. But the question is how do we do it? Too often you'll see golfers, and I don't know if you're one of those, you'll see golfers doing this. They're trying so hard to generate power, but what they're doing is they're literally hitting from this section first. So it becomes a bit of a swipe at the golf ball. The lower section doesn't get involved whatsoever, and hey presto, they lead to poor distances and poor strikes. So we want to try and get the lower section working. Now the first drill I'm going to give you is a very, very simple one. It's one that I would say doesn't require as much practice as the second, so I'm going to give you it first, and this is one that you can take out into the golf course. And it's called the 101 drill. Basically what you want to do is you're going to go 101. You can say the words out to yourself, it's 100, 101. Now what this means is, by trying to get that number out while you're swinging, you can't rush the downswing so much. So it's 101, not 100, and we're going to start snatching it. So watch this. Let's look at it and see how this works. It is 101. And that way, we're able to start to complete the backswing nice and smooth and start to get that club flowing through and get the lower section, give the lower section a bit more time to hit the shot. So it's 101. Okay, nice and simple, something you can take straight to the golf course. If you're struggling to get the 101 out while you're swinging, it's usually because you get to about here, you don't quite complete the backswing, and you're swiping at it with your upper part of your body. So moving on to the second part. This one requires a little bit of practice, but is really, really effective, and is a great sequential drill. We've just said, look, if you want to start the downswing correctly, you've got to start it with the lower section of the body. Very, very important. Question is, how do you do it? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you the step drill, but you may have seen the step drill before, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the step drill, and I'm going to show you how you can gradually integrate this into your main swing. So what you do, you get yourself set up here. Then what we do is we step to the right of the golf ball. And then what we're going to do, we're going to literally practice stepping first, then hitting. Notice this. We're stepping, then we're hitting. So the lower section followed by the downswing. So watch this. Step and hit. Yep, so all we're doing is getting you the sensation of the lower part of the body starting first. Let's do that again. So we'll get ourselves set. We stand over here and be really patient with this one because it does require a bit of coordination. When I give this the first time to a few clients, they maybe struggle to hit the ball properly, and that's not a problem. What it is to learn the feeling of the separation of the lower and the upper body. So we're going to go step, then we're going to go, okay? So step, step, and go. Okay, now once you've done that 5, 6, 7, 8, as many times as possible, what you're trying to do is just get a sensation of the delay. One section's moving, and then the second section, which is the downswing, that comes into the shot. Then what we're going to do, once you've got that sensation in, we're going to take the swing. And what I do now is this. This is where we start to make it more subtle. That's the extreme. Now we're going to make it more subtle. The subtle one is this. We swing back, and then what we're going to do is we're going to feel a pressure just going in to the left leg whilst it just gently rotates. You see that? So we go back here. Before we pull down, we're going to go pressure in, then we go through. Back here, pressure in, then we go through. It's a bit more subtle now, but you're just feeling that the lower section working. Now nice and smooth with this. Back here, pressure in, and move it a little bit again, just try to feel, and then off we go. Now you can see why we're building this up. We're building it up very slowly. I'm doing it quickly because I'm trying to get this message off to you on a video, but this will be a fairly long practice session as you're trying to work on this. You're trying to get the sensation, train the body, speak the body's language, don't rush this, swing it back. Feel the pressure going into the left foot with a little bit of rotation here before these come through. So it's a little bit of pressure, then they come through. Let's have a look at this one more time. So watch this, back. Notice I'm not doing normal swings, it says small swings. Feel it. Okay, then away we go. And we gradually build that up until you start to get that lovely strike. So let's summarize this. What are we doing here? Well, clearly what we want to do is we want to help you to start the downswing correctly. How do we do that? We've got to learn to basically get the upper part of the body working second, not first in the downswing. Very, very important. How do we do that? We give you 2 exercises. The one is very straightforward, very simple, one that you can take to a golf course. Use the 101 drill. It stops you rushing that downswing. So it's 101, 101. This, when you do it slowly, gives the lower section more time to come into the game to allow this top part to come in second. Number 2 was more of a sequential drill. First of all, you've got to get the lower section working. So what we're going to get to here is this. You get yourself set up to the ball. You stand to the side. You swing back and you get a sensation of this section working without this section. So lower section is number 1, followed by number 2 is the upper section. Back, 1, 2 section. Then hit balls doing that. Then make it more subtle. Swing back to here. 1, 2. 1, 2. Then go to the golf ball. 1, 2. Start to get that sensation. Once you start to get 1, 2, you can then gradually make it much, much smoother. So I really hope you enjoy this training. This one is, I would think, one of the most important ones. Get that club online first, then really get the sequence in. It's one of the secrets to effortless power. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, and some of your friends would benefit from some extra ball striking and some powers, please share it. As you know, it really, really helps. And of course, look, if you're new to the channel and this is one of your first videos, consider subscribing. I'd love to see you next week. But until next week, have a great golfing week.